Don in London, hello. September the 11th, 9/11. A day to remember a lot of things. Anyway, I guess I'm remembering today in the context of being in recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour equally addictive around people, places and things. And today I am sober, but 10 years ago I was awake enough and not sober to see what happened in New York City and what happened with the Pentagon and what happened with Flight 903. And I couldn't believe it, a state of denial, if you like, a shock beyond measure, and something I really couldn't comprehend. But then within moments I realised, given my life experience, there was going to be a lot of change and a lot of changes around how we dealt with terrorism and emerging ideas which were quite different and counterproductive to most people's outlook around the world. And it brought it home in many ways, the horror of life. It didn't help me find sobriety, I have to say, because the awfulness of the event was overwhelming, and I drank on it, and the awfulness of what I knew might happen next and where the world would go in trying to deal with it made me feel even worse and didn't offer me a reason to be sober either. The world was going to pot, and so was I. So these days I'm very lucky to be sober and to be alive and to see what is happening and to see that there is hope for the future. So I will be talking in context of sobriety rather than the events of that particular day, other than, like everyone, deeply affected and deeply, deeply sorry for those people who have been hurt, were hurt, and have been hurt since. These things don't go away. Anyway, recovery. How do I cope with situations like this today? Well, a lot different, I have to say, and with an understanding of life being the way it can be, people being the way they can be, the capacity of people anywhere and everywhere to deal with what goes on, and the sometimes horror of big events which we just don't know how to cope with. I'm very lucky to be sober today. I know how far and how close I went to not being here, and in some ways that made me feel guilty and ashamed of my behaviour for many years, and my response to big events and small events, the big events of the world and the local small events which were impacting on me as a person. And if anything made me drink more, it was in those days. And I remember 30 odd years before, the change in government in this country led to the most god-awful mess and damage done to simple citizens of our own country and how they were able to live. And a lot of those decisions based on 30, 40 years ago still impact greatly today, undermining the fabric of society. And those were always good reasons to drink. And my outlook back then, 40 odd years ago, was do the best I can with what I had and what I could do. And the same applies to 10 years ago. But the way I live life today is sober. Sober today so the rest of life can happen. And I have immense gratitude to even be here, because if it wasn't for the help of family, friends, community, professionals and a fellowship, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to see the world as it is, the beautiful and the ugly, and anywhere in between, the black, the white, the grey. But it's more multicoloured and more, I suppose, understood and appreciated. Beauty is much more appreciated, and the sadness and the ugliness of life is also, it hits home when things go wrong. So I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky to be alive. A fellowship, Alcoholics Anonymous, kept me going through the difficult times of trying to learn how to be sober, when I just didn't know. I had got no clue of how to help myself out of the most appalling situation, being alone, homeless and with nothing except my history and my thoughts of where my life had gone. a big change for me, and big changes even in recovery over the last few years, around how I deal with calamity and tragedy, and how I deal with, I don't deal with it, I live life, be it tragic, or happy, or joyful, or sad. All the feelings come back. And somebody said that last night in the meeting of the fellowship. Anyway, enough of that for the moment. How does AA help me? Well, it's a fellowship of people, and the AA preamble on this little card here outlines exactly what AA can do and what it can't do. More of what it can do than it can't do. It cannot change you into the person you would desire or expect to be, but it can give you the opportunity to be sober so that life may work again. So the AA preamble, followed by some of the readings from the literature which support recovery, and some of my own thoughts which have been supporting my recovery. I don't speak for AA, never can, never will. Each and every person is unique and authentic to themselves in their own life experience, making sober work or living sober so that everything works, or doesn't, as life can be. But most importantly, there are no leaders in AA. We're all trusted servants, all the same size, with the same voting capacity and the same ability to influence. But we don't tell each other what to do. We work in tandem and in agreement. So the AA preamble reads like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. So that's the only requirement, a desire to stop. And there are no rules, laws or regulations to bind you to a code of conduct. You behave as you feel is right for you, and then learn how maybe you can fit in. There are no dues or fees for AA membership, so free at the point of entry into a meeting. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. We only give enough to keep things going, and we don't have vast amounts of resources at our disposal in case issues of power and money become more important than sobriety. So sobriety is about keeping the fellowship on track and just ticking over. It's never about making vast amounts of money out of people. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Neither endorses nor opposes any causes, but every single person in the fellowship has an opinion on life, beliefs, attitudes and outlooks. So you're allowed to keep everything that is good for you, and you cherish it. It's your way out. It's your way out. Oh, not way out. It's your outward looking, which is important. How you fit in with and can become part of society again, maybe. So you don't have to give anything up except one thing, the booze, and maybe behaviour which is going to lead you back to a drink rather than further away from it. So you can be yourself. Nobody can tell you what to do. The fellowship, though, is about sobriety and a desire to stop, and as it says here, our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So nobody's there to tell you what to do, but we share experience, strength and hope, and the primary purpose is to share the message of hope. And I guess in life, in any one day, there can be hope and there can be no hope. It just depends on our life situation and our life experiences and what's happening now. So compared to 10 years ago, my life situation has improved. I'm no longer on self-destruct and self-harm, and feeling even more at odds with the world because of what people were doing in it. Excuse me, and what might happen next, because my life experience told me that retribution, rather than dealing with the world in a different way, may be the calamity as I felt it then. I can't judge it how other people felt it closer and nearer to the damage done, but I can see how it was. I could see how it was going to turn out, and it was what was going to happen. Following that was quite predictable, and I have no answer to the right and wrong of that. But maybe in recovery, what I've learned is, if I feel strongly about something, I can speak out about it in an appropriate way. But this is about sobriety, so I'm relating real life to my sobriety. Real life today is the horror of what happened is always going to be with me, but my reaction to it and my response to it is quite different. So, it's not the end of the world what has happened. It's changed a lot. It was an end of the world for some people, and that can never be underestimated, nor can we appreciate enough what people have done to try and put things right and serve as best they can to do that. So I don't want to blame anyone, but the consequences can become quite clear. And I guess that's just the way it is. Anyway, I'm going to share from this book, the AA Daily Reflections. And in it, in September, it's about step 9, which is making amends and restitution whenever we can without causing further harm to others and also to ourselves to an extent, but never to duck out from making amends which need to be made. And that takes quite a while to sort out. So step 9 is a little way into the programme. Knowing about it, you can find out about it fairly quickly, and how it impacts and what the consequences are of all these things. But we have to work at being sober first, so we may then learn how to practice all these principles in our living. And it does take time. But the daily reflection, September the 9th, from that daily reflection book, was about making amends. Above all, we should try to be absolutely sure that we are not delaying because we are afraid. So part of our 12 principles of life is not to dally and not to hold on to old ideas, but make the amends where they're due, make restitution where they are due without causing further harm. To have courage to be unafraid are gifts for my recovery. They empower me to ask for help and to go forth into making my amends with a sense of dignity and humility. Dignity in the sense that even at our worst we were doing the best we could, but not shirking or saying, I can blame it all on my drink, which of course it was, but still part of the consequences are the way we live today. And humility means keep on learning life. So I am going to make mistakes daily about life and living. I will keep on making mistakes, but it's how I learn from it. Humility to keep on learning, which is so important. Making amends may require a certain amount of honesty that I feel I lack, yet with the help of God, or as I like to understand it, truth, love and wisdom, not my opinion or belief, just simply truth, love and wisdom, the absolute truth, not my opinion about it. And the wisdom of others, I can reach within and find the strength to act, which is to do the amends. My amends may be accepted, or they may not. But after they are completed, I can walk with a sense of freedom and know that for today I am responsible. And one of the pledges, if you like, I am responsible when anyone anywhere reaches out for help. I want the hand of AA always to be there, and for that I am responsible. If I can help, I will. If I cannot help, I will say, I don't think I can help, but at the same time there may be somebody who can. And what I've learned more than anything in fellowship is it's face to face in the meetings where we share the truth of who we are today and how we got there, that we can share, I need help with this, or I need help with that. But it's not about trying to do it alone. I try to stop drinking on my own, and addiction is it's impossible, it seems to me, to be sober in the truest sense of emotional sobriety, where my feelings fit what is going on, and spiritual sobriety, which is being able to live in the moment of now and cope with it, coping with the moment as it is. And physically, not craving a drink or not craving a fix. That's the type of sobriety which seems to work for me. It's not just about putting down the drink and seeing what happens. We have to live and learn anew. Anyway, this morning for me, and I've been watching the media and what is happening and the bells ringing round here and the different events in London, to share memories of 10 years ago is absolutely right and relevant to me and my recovery, because I can appreciate it. I can appreciate all the reasons why and all that has been done. So in consideration of that, 2 wrongs can make us righteous, and still we may not be right. 2 rights can end up being wrong. 10 years after the Twin Towers, and the awful acts in that year, the consequences are still unravelling. I could see what could happen, and would happen, over the next few years, as did many others. I am sober today. Looking back at those intemperate times, there is hope locally and globally. Just for today, I need to remember and cherish everyone always. And that's everyone always. Cherish everyone always. Love people, and behaviour can be quite different. We may not like it, and we can see it as hateful and awful. But if we stop cherishing long enough, then the world will go completely to pieces. So there is something in there around forgiveness, and I'm not asking anybody to forgive anything. I'm just saying, for me, I need to forgive always what I do for the mistakes I make, and also what other people do to me. And it's not looking for forgiveness from them in what I do. I need to just be forgiving of everything and everything every day. And sometimes it's hard, sometimes it feels impossible. But if we cannot get over blame and the horror of what we can do to each other, it will keep on happening forever. There need be a time when we learn how to forgive everything, so we stop causing all these problems. That's an idealist view, that one day, maybe, never. It's how I conduct myself in sobriety, which is important, to be able to see, to be able to appreciate people and cherish them, locally and globally, as best I can. But it doesn't mean everybody's going to be my friend, and I'm not going to agree with all the things they do, and some of the consequences are as bad as they can be. So life goes on as it can. I need to remember to cherish everyone always. Anyway, that was this morning. Then before, why were others less hard working than me? This is just coming back to me and my outlook over the years. I always thought I worked harder, strove harder, to prove I was a worthwhile individual. Fear of not being good enough was always there in the back of my mind, and resentful when others were less hard working, and what I thought was less committed. But of course they weren't as fearful as me. Driven to hard work and needing self-worth, and always fear pushing me to deliver. I had no clue about balance in life, full steam ahead in every direction, squeeze the last drop and be the life and soul of anything and everything. Did I have a zest for life? That's a question mark. Hiding a great big misunderstanding about most of life and living, that was me. Which made me able to see all the faults and festering others did not really get to see in their own lives, which made me able to see, yes. So if I could not sort out my own life, I got good at helping others sort out theirs, sort of living by proxy, living through others, feeling right by helping anyone and everyone feel right about their chosen path. And if I didn't like their chosen path, I suspect I judged it harshly. But I also judge people as not as shiftless and less concerned about, the outcomes than me. But I was driven by fear and not by one-directionalism, if you like. If you put me on a task, I would do it, and I would keep on going till it was done. And unfortunately, I had the same attitude when it came to drinking and relationships. I would not give up, when in fact it would have been far better to stop doing certain things and start new things. Work hard and play hard, booze hard, party hard. Happy? Hardly, as I looked for the next right action, next right work, next right relationship, on and on. And those are the sorts of things which can drive me bonkers today, trying to get it right, when in fact, live. And if it's right, it's right, and live. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Change. How hard was that to learn? It took a long time, because I just thought I had to be right and keep on going at things. When I worked myself into the ground in a breakdown to die for, with a great enabler at the time, the breakdown which followed changed my life forever. 2 years in an anxiety state, followed by vain attempts to return to my former self, and then a habit to fill the horror of my life had come, so quick I could not believe it was me, an alcoholic. And yeah, trying to be the old self, trying to put things right, trying to be whatever I thought you wanted me to be, and it was causing me to go back more and more and more into the insanity of my old ways. And I hope, the world learns that doing the same thing over and over again will not work if it's wrong, and it gives consequences which just make the world diminished, either locally or globally. We need to step up, not step down. Or, no we don't, I need to step up, not step down. What you do is right for you. I'm just talking about me now. I need to be careful. I'm not a moraliser in the sense of judging the rest of the world these days, because I well and truly got it wrong. So I kept on getting it wrong over and over again, and I couldn't stop doing things which were hurting me and other people. So I'm not there to judge, but look for ways forward where we stop the insanity of thinking we can keep on doing the same thing over and over and it will get better when it won't. We do cross a line from fun to self-medicating to habit to alcoholic. Unpredictable, different for everyone, it depends on our spiritual, emotional and physical makeup, and life experiences shaping our next precarious steps. A combination unpredictable which shifts the balance from take it or leave to need it, want it and cannot do without it. So I don't know that I could ever take it or leave it when it came to certain life behaviours or my behaviour, because I had to prove myself always. These days I realise progress not perfect. Balance in my life, from all the way to the top, as far as I could go, and all the way to rock bottom, and then more rock bottoms. I persevered long on the rocks and hard places, as they became familiar friends to me. Pain was pain gave me the reason for drinking, and kept me in that horrible place of depression. Self-hate, it shuts out the love of anyone we may know, and loves us with anyone we may know, and who loves us without conditions. Self-hate, a slow or quick end to any form of worthwhile existence, as Providence takes us to the ultimate and untimely end. So most people don't get out of addiction. Most people fall into addiction as those are the bottles, those are the empties being turfed out from one of my local restaurants, just one of them. So an untimely end for me if I went back over there and started consuming again. And then to now, living and learning as I go along in sobriety, one day to live, and this one. Spiritual? Yes. Living in reality with help and love as all humans do. Emotional? ? As we experience life, we feel life, and sometimes it is warm and cuddly, or full of noises of bottles being broken, and sometimes empty and desolate, with the empty bottles being chucked out, as in this case. Most of the time, lots of both, happy and sad. Physical, yes, but given my extreme age, some things may take longer than before. That could be an advantage in certain circumstances. So, part of it is getting a sense of humour back as well, about being older and none the wiser, but with the opportunity and humility to keep on learning wisdom. God, that's a lot of bottles. Anyway, it's now, yes. Consequences. Sometimes life works. Some of life works, and then maybe nothing works. In the insanity of drink back then, everyone most likely felt harm done by me, or I felt harm done to me. Amends are made to acknowledge harm done, and where possible make restitution without causing further harm. A new beginning, open, honest and willing. Experiencing truth, love and wisdom of others is what our open, honest and willing outlook offers. Extremes of fear, brave facing, brittle ego was a cover in the past. Extremes of faith, courage and false confidence can be equally self-deluding. Faith without works is dead. No work, no progress. We need work hard at living our lives today. Well, we do. You know, the brain, conscious or subconscious, works at 100%. It can't work less than that, or something stops working, and it can't work more than that, or we overheat, like a car engine. If it's not tuned in to the moment of now, a car will splutter, choke and fail. A bit like humans, although we have more leeway, if you like. A car engine just seize up, but equally so can humans. We can seize up in the moment because we just don't know what to do. But if we have humility and say, hang on, this is going wrong or this is going right, we need to change. Or change is probably a good thing right now, because there's a storm coming, the oceans are going up and down, and we're in a very small boat and we need dry land. And it's a bit like that with sobriety. Dry land on an ocean when we've been on an ocean of alcohol. So today is an extremely important day of remembrance, and there can be happiness and cherishing in that, and also the great sadness of loss, the loss of love from those who loved us, and also the loss of people we loved. Tragedy is tragedy, and you know, it hits us in different ways in different days, months, years. It's never the same for everyone. Everybody grieves in a slightly different way, at a slightly different pace. There is no single answer to anything, which is the gift of life. If it was all the same, it would be predictable, and maybe a lot of people would be happy with that. But truth is, life is not predictable. We don't control it. God, the amount of glass being chucked out this morning, well actually just mid-afternoon, is shocking. I need to say the Serenity Prayer and go to a meeting later. The Serenity Prayer, which helps me with what I can and cannot do. I can change my attitude and behaviour. I cannot change you or the world's attitude and behaviour. I can share experience, strength and hope, but it may not be the right experience, strength and hope for you, as it can be. So to God, or in good conscience, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, people, places, things and bottles being chucked out. Courage to change the things I can, me, my attitudes and behaviour, and live my consequences and learn from them. And the wisdom to know the difference is always in the moment of now. Strange, noises off, great big huge buckets or barrels or whatever of glass, empties of alcohol. I don't have those anymore, just for today and for a long time. I have immense gratitude to be on track, living in the moment and just for today.